entertainment at tcm.com/festival.
Hi, I'm Robert Osborne. Thanks so much for joining us. This week's essential film we just showed was a bonanza for the eyes, certainly, Gold Diggers of 1933. And it's one of the films which made Dick Powell, who played Brad, one of the biggest singing stars of the 1930s. But it turned out there was so much more to Dick Powell than just being an attractive crooner in movies like that. He became one of the long-distance runners of Hollywood, actually, working in front of and behind the camera for over 30 years, ultimately becoming a major film noir tough guy in the 40s, a director in the 50s, and then a producer and major television mogul later on. He much preferred working behind the scenes, actually, he said, because you don't have to hold your stomach in anymore. Well, up next we have a comedy he made in the 50s, one in which he co-stars with his real-life wife at the time, June Allison. It's called The Reformer and the Redhead. MGM made it in 1950, where June was under contract and one of the company's biggest stars. Now, Dick had just made his debut as a producer on a movie in which he also appeared called Mrs. Mike, and he was full of enthusiasm about the new direction his career was now going. But when he had a chance to work with his wife in this movie at MGM, he happily accepted. It wasn't the first movie in which June and Dick had appeared together, but the first they'd made as husband and wife. They actually first met in 1943 when they worked together on an earlier MGM film called Meet the People, which was released in 1944. He was the star of that film. She was just one of the supporting players. And at that time, Dick was married to actress Joan Blondell. But later that year of 1944, they divorced, and in 1945, June Allison became Mrs. Dick Powell. June also became one of the biggest stars at MGM, and Powell's career also zoomed when he played tough guys in film noir stories like Murder My Sweet and Johnny O'Clock. By 1950, though, Dick Powell was much more interested in producing and directing, which he soon would do full-time. But here he is in one of his occasional acting roles in the 1950s, playing a big city political candidate who falls in love with the daughter of a zookeeper. That's June. Here from 1950, The Reformer and the Redhead.